and gentlemen, to section 3.4 of Mrs. Quinn's geometry class. Today we're going to talk about algebraic properties. So let's start off by talking about undefined terms for algebra. If you remember, at the beginning of this course, we talked about some undefined terms for geometry. But algebra also had undefined terms, such as number or set. Those are words that other words in algebra are based on, and we can't define them without circular reasoning. So let's look at some postulates of equality. Algebraic property, reflexive property for real numbers A, B, and C says that A equals A. Something equals itself, which is hopefully always true. Now for symmetric property, I have if A equals B, then B equals A. So I can reverse the order of my equality. The transitive property is a little bit longer. It says if A equals B and B equals C, then I can say that A equals C and skip that middle portion of B. So go ahead and write those properties down for me. And now let's talk about two more properties of equality. The addition property of equality says the following. If I know that A equals B, and I add C to both sides, as many of you did last year in algebra, A plus C is going to equal B plus C. Hopefully that makes sense. I add the same thing to both sides, I still have equality. And then we have the multiplication property of equality. If, again, A equals B, and I multiply the same thing on both sides, A times C must equal B times C. All right. Now let's move on to properties of inequality. If I say, well, make sure you can read this. Let me change the color. If A is less than B and B is less than C, what do you think I can say? Hopefully you thought A is less than C, and you'd be correct. For the additive property of inequality, I would say if A is less than B, then A plus some value of C is going to be less than B plus some value of C. Basically, I did the same thing as the additive property of equality. I just added the same value to both sides. Now let's look at the last one, the multiplication property of inequality. And here we have to be careful. If A is less than B and C is greater than 0, meaning it's some positive value, then A times C is going to be less than B times C. Now I can say also if A is less than B, and instead of C being positive, we make it less than 0 or negative, then what's going to happen? Then A times C is going to be greater than B times C. All right, go ahead and get those written down, and let's move on. Let's look at the equation to inequality property. Here, if I have A plus B equals C, this is hopefully familiar to us a little bit. Here I could say that A must be less than C and B must be less than C. If when I add them together, I end up with C. I believe the book writes that as in the opposite order. I think the book actually writes C is bigger than A and C is bigger than B. Although it's the same inequality. C is bigger than A. That says the same thing as A is less than C. And C is bigger than B. That says the same thing as B is less than C. All right, substitution property. All right, if I say that A equals B, then I can substitute A in for any value of B. So, for example, if I had the expression 5b, that would be the same as the expression 5a. Okay, with that, here's a list of definitions and postulates and theorems that you should have written down by now. Make sure you double check that with your notebook. And here are a list of more properties that you should have written down by now. For tomorrow, on a separate sheet of paper, I would like you to try these 2 questions. And I'll see you tomorrow.